Red Riding Hood by various authors. There was once a young girl who lived with her mother and father in a pretty little cottage at the edge of the woods. Now this girl had a long red cloak and a red hood to go with it, and everybody called her Red Riding Hood. One morning, Red Riding Hood was out in the garden playing happily when her mother came out into the garden and said to her, "My dear, your grandmother's not very well today. Would you like to take a basket of good things to her? You can go through the woods, but don't speak to any of the wolves on the way." "Yes, certainly," said Little Red Riding Hood, because she was very fond of her grandmother. Off she went with the basket, skipping along. It was a lovely day. The birds were singing, the bees were buzzing, the butterflies were flying, and Little Red Riding Hood felt very happy indeed. She stopped to pick some pretty flowers to put into the basket because she knew her grandmother loved pretty flowers. A little while later she met this wolf, who said to her, "And where are you going, my little one?" "Oh," said Little Red Riding Hood, forgetting that her mother had told her not to speak to any of the wolves, "I am going to see my grandmother because she's not very well. Have a basket of good things for her." "So I see," said the wolf. "And where does your grandmother live?" "Oh, not far from here," said Little Red Riding Hood, "in a cottage near the edge of the woods." "Oh, I see," said the wolf. "Well, I'll see you then." And off he went. But he was very cunning and crafty because he knew where the cottage was then, and he knew if he could get there before Red Riding Hood got there, he could eat up grandmother and Little Red Riding Hood as well. Well, Red Riding Hood went on her way, skipping along and talking to people and picking more plants for her grandmother. But the wolf got to the cottage first and knocked on the door. "Who's there?" said grandmother from her bed. "It is your granddaughter," said the wolf, "and I have brought a basket of good things for you." "Oh, come in," said grandmother. The door opened and the door went crash. "My goodness," said grandmother, jumping out of bed because she knew it wasn't her granddaughter. She hid in the cupboard. The wolf came in, sniffing, "Where's grandmother? Where's grandmother?" Well, he couldn't find her, but he saw her nightcap on the floor. So he put on the nightcap, got into grandmother's bed and hid under the blankets. A little while later, there was a knock at the door. "Who's there?" said the wolf, trying to talk in grandmother's voice. "It is I, your granddaughter," said Little Red Riding Hood. "I brought you a basket of good things, grandmother." "Oh, come in, my dear, come in, my dear," said the wolf. The door opened. In came Little Red Riding Hood. Now she couldn't see who was in the bed, and she came closer to the bed and sat next to the bed, and the big bad wolf was hiding under the blankets. And he said, "Come closer to the bed, my dear, come closer to the bed." Little Red Riding Hood sat by the bed, and then she said, "Grandmother, what big ears you have." "Oh, the better to hear you with, my dear," said the wolf. Then Little Red Riding Hood said, "Grandmother, what big eyes you have." "Oh, the better to see you with, my dear," said the wolf, grinding his teeth hungrily. And then Little Red Riding Hood said, "Grandmother, what big teeth you have." And the wolf leapt up and said, "Oh, the better to eat you with, my dear." And Little Red Riding Hood screamed. And as she screamed, who do you think was standing outside the window but her father? And he looked in at the window and he saw the wicked wolf and he shouted, "Get out of that bed this minute, you wicked wolf!" And the wicked wolf was frightened of Little Red Riding Hood's father. He was out of the door, and Little Red Riding Hood's father chased him far away into the forest. Then he went back to the cottage and he comforted Little Red Riding Hood and said, "Well, he's gone now, dear, he's gone now. Now where's grandmother?" Then the cupboard door suddenly opened and there was grandmother fast asleep inside the cupboard. Well, they got her out and got her back into her bed, and in a little while she was sitting up eating the good things out of the basket and feeling much better. And then Little Red Riding Hood's father said, "Well, I think I'd better take you home now, my dear. It's nearly time for tea." So they said goodbye to grandmother, and Little Red Riding Hood went home holding her father tightly by the hand. And the big bad wolf never ever came near Little Red Riding Hood or her grandmother ever again.